So on the subject of Ukraine, me personally, I believe America, we shouldn't be involved and we should let our colonies in Europe, I mean our allies in Europe, take care of it. What's up, YouTube? It's your boy. Remember, like, share, subscribe. Help me out with that algorithm. You know, I'm trying to entertain you. So what's up though? But for real though, let me cut that. Let me chill out. I'm a new YouTuber and still developing my niche, developing what I want to talk about on my YouTube channel. And so far, I've been all over the place, kind of. And on that note, I'm gonna be talking about Ukraine. So on the subject of Ukraine, me personally, I believe America, we shouldn't be involved and we should let our colonies in Europe, I mean our allies in Europe, take care of it. They should have enough people there so that they can handle it without us sending money and our resources. We should keep all of our resources back home for if that shit pops off. And I believe if we do give Ukraine resources, or if we do give Europe resources, we should do it in a limited way so we can make sure we hold on to the stockpile we have for the for further escalation of the war with Russia and or China because of what's going on with BRICS, what's going on with Niger, and what's going on all over the world. So you're wondering, why do I believe that America shouldn't help out Ukraine? Then we sign like an agreement with them saying that if they get their nuclear weapons, that will didn't they sign a treaty saying if they give up their nuclear weapons, then we'll provide them with protection? And this video I'm gonna go over 3 reasons why we should get out of Ukraine and not help them. The first 3 reasons I'm gonna go over is why we shouldn't help them and why we should get out is because first, we kind of started the whole mess and the whole fuck up in 2014. Actually, late 2013, early 2014 is when we started the whole problem in Ukraine under Obama. Number two, we need to let our colonies, I mean our allies in Europe, take some of the load. I feel like our allies in Europe been slacking a lot in the recent years. In the recent like last 2 to 3 decades, they've been slacking a lot because they're Ayo, America got us, we got this. So we need to like fall back a little and see what they could do. We should let them handle it by themselves and this just show them what they're lacking in, what they need to improve, and if they're really able to stand up to foreign powers on their own without America's help. Because I believe there's a lot of European countries without being what it feels like for NATO, they would have been fall to another country and they're riding on America's coattail. And three, I believe instead of saying money and all that constant help to Ukraine, we could do better by keeping it here and building our economy and building up and helping trying to fix the poverty in America instead of sending billions and billions of dollars to Ukraine. We could send some of that money into areas like Chicago, into areas in New York, into areas of Southern California that have high poverty, high crime, and it's just a bad overall environment, which people would consider a shithole country in those areas. So let me go into details about each of my points. My first point being that we kind of started the mess in Ukraine. In the late 2013, there's protests going on because their leader at the time, I believe his name is Yanukovych, signed an agreement with Russia instead of signing the agreement with the EU. So follow me now. They signed the agreement with Russia versus the EU. In my opinion, the EU and America was the reason the protests occurred afterwards. Following the decision for their leader to partner with Russia, the EU's influence and America's influence inside the country was what caused the mass protests, and it was led by two individuals. So in the so the protests in there started becoming violent and started becoming violent in early January. The EU and America urged them to end it peacefully in early 2014. Think about that. They're telling them to end it peacefully with the protesters because and I'm just they're telling them to end it peacefully with the protesters. And me with that fifth level IQ, never mind. The US urged them to in the rallies and in the protests peacefully and not get any more violence, even though they started getting violent in early 2014. Or they was imposed sanctions on them. So the US was trying to influence the leader at the time to end it peacefully, even though I believe at the time they were the ones that were backing the coup. So then their leaders able to get an agreement going along with the parliament to end the protest and remove the police peacefully. And then so the 21st of February, they agreed to sign an agreement with the opposition leaders, which I believe was secretly being backed and funded by America and the EU, specifically the CIA and like the intelligence agencies and stuff like that. My opinion. So the leader Yanukovych signs an agreement with the opposition leaders, and then right after he signs the agreement with the opposition leader, they make a bill to remove him from office. Think about that. Think about that. He then goes down to Crimea, and then Russia says, "Hey, yo, y'all just did a coup in that country, and that's our country that was like very close to us." Russia then goes into Crimea to protect the separatists and the people that are pro-Russia that's living in Crimea. But you're thinking, but think about this. Yanukovych, the leader at the time, says, "All right," makes the agreement with the opposition that, "All right, we'll remove the police." And right after that, they say, "Oh, we're gonna pass this bill to remove you from office, and you're under arrest." That to me seems like a coup. Tell him to remove his defense because the U.S. and Europe was like, "Hey, yo, end this with peace, or we're gonna put sanctions on you." And they're telling him, "Hey, remove your police force, which would be able to defend him." And then, bam, we're gonna remove you from office. Bam, you're under arrest. And bam, the protesters then are able to take control over a couple places. So if that's not a coup, then I don't know what is. That seems like a coup right out the book. But who was funding these people to cause this coup, and who were the people that behind the coup? The two leaders of the coup at the time were one of the leaders of the protesting group at the time was Yuri Luzinski. And what I find interesting is this part right here about his partying. When they quote the reason why he should be partying, they quote a lot of stuff from the EU. And then the final thing that really I'm like, the EU welcomed the pardon of Levinsky, and I don't know how to pronounce that name, and urged Ukraine to continue addressing the cases of selective justice. The EU is in favor of them pardoning this dude, so to me is like, all right, if the EU is in favor of him, that they can always come to him and say, "Hey, we got you pardoned. We was a big influence getting you pardoned. Now we need you to come do something for us." And bam, that's to be like, "Hey, yo, we got some right in our book. We got some right there. We could easily control, easily manipulate, and we could have someone could easily go into there to cause the coup or something like that." The USA would put three people in charge in certain positions to create a puppet government inside Ukraine where they could have influence and control for the West and America. So, following removing Yanukovych from office, these three individuals were able to be placed into positions where they are able to get a puppet government that's favorable towards the West and America. You had the president at the time being him, and I believe he was the mayor of Kiev. He was part of the Ministry for Internal Affairs, which is Ukraine's police authority. So the leader of the police force you got right here. You got the mayor of Kiev, which is the capital, and you got right here the president. All three favorable to the West, and all three favorable to America and their interests, right? And trying to be part and trying to join NATO. To me, that was a coup where the leader of the country signed an agreement with the opposition to remove the police force, which will also be the security force for him himself. And then right after he signs the agreement to remove the police from the Kiev because of the protests, they sign a bill to remove him from office, and then they sign a bill to arrest him. With only 73, with only seven, with only 73% of their parliament in house at the time. To me, that's a decapitation strike. They're easily able to get the leader removed. Then the protesters come in and occupy. One of the leaders of the protesters is currently the mayor of Kiev. I don't know if he was the mayor or the mayor's brother. When I looked at the names, I got two first names that sounded. I didn't know which one it was. So I'm not sure if the leader of the protesters was the brother of the mayor of Kiev or him himself. And then the mayor of Kiev was one of the leaders of the protesters. To me, all you have to do is think about it. There are two persons in the group, and one of the leaders of the protesting group ends up becoming the mayor of Kiev, and the leader of the other protesting group becomes the leader of the police force. That was a decapitation strike and putting a puppet government that's favorable towards you. Genius. Genius. My second reason is we need to become more a nationalist country instead of being so much of a globalist country. We're currently giving Ukraine all this money to help them, but we're not thinking about what about the future? What if things escalate? What if things go even further? And what about ourselves? We need to start thinking about ourselves now and start trying to prepare for that now because if the war increases any further, we're gonna have to pick up the slack of the European Union. And that is my honest opinion. I'm gonna show you a video that ranks in NATO militaries and to show you that why, hey yo, we need to back off and see if they could do it themselves so they could realize that they need to man up and they need to bolster up their defenses because they can't just rely on us to put all of the troops, all of the weapons, all of the money forward to support a war. See, these are some of the countries that are just hating on our coattails, bruh. Like $100 million for your military budget. Then again, these are some of the countries that we're gonna have to pick up the slack for. Global rank 133, global rank 123, global rank 113. These are the countries that joined NATO for that U.S. support right there. But these are the same countries that talk shit about, oh, stupid Americans. They have all these people here, and Russia's such a big threat to Ukraine. Why don't they start sending troops in their money? Why do we gotta send the billions? Why do we gotta send so much? So now they're breaking to 50s of the global rank with Romania, the Netherlands. Like, pretty sure these countries could fight by themselves, but they can still need that U.S. support. Active personnel, 25,000, 24,000, 200,000. Like, think about it, brother. They're really relying on the U.S. You see, like, the size of these countries and stuff like that, and then the size of the militaries also, you understand that they're pretty much American colonies to help us make a shield against Russia so they can help us be that first line of defense. But they're not doing that. They're not being that first line that soaks up the bullets, then we come in and ra-ta-ta-ta-ta. And these are like the top 4 NATO countries based off the military. And UK and France is ranked 8 and 7. They need to get them they need to get the numbers up. My third point for why we should stop funding Ukraine and don't be so much involved as what we're doing to help them in the war efforts is because we could save that money for ourselves and we could use it to fix up our own economy and our own problems.
Any Ukrainian offensive is only possible with the help of the West, and the latest figures up to the end of February show over £75 billion worth of aid has been committed. £75 billion.
£75 billion worth of aid was given to Ukraine. I don't know how much I don't know what that converts to US dollars, but I'm gonna just say roughly the same. So I just checked the math for the conversion. It's about $1 to 0.8 pounds right now. So it's about actually $90 billion that was given, and we gave the bulk of it. That looks like, well, less than 5, 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 but less than 10, less than 10, less than 10. So it's about $90 billion total, roughly to US dollars from the British pound when using Google to convert it. I don't know if I used the right conversion tool, might have fucked up, but it's about roughly 90 billion pounds that was actually spent in US dollars. In total, the other countries aside from the US, it seemed like they spent about total what 20, 10 at 10, 20 billion, and we're spending what the 60 to 70 billion to support them. If $60 billion was invested into our economy right now, what good could that do? If $1 billion was invested to Detroit, we put $1 billion into certain cities in New York and California because of the poverty and the crime rate. What good could that do? Fixing the education system in those places, fixing the education in poor economic areas. What good could that do?
And the UK has given the second most of that total. So there's a lot of it. But it's all come in stages, now and again, dribs and drabs as some see it, which is less than ideal. The UK has taken a very positive attitude, but just look at the number of individual announcements that we have made. In the 14 months since the war began, there were only 4 months where we didn't make one announcement, often 2, and in one case, even 4 announcements, all in 1 month. And these announcements were all separate announcements of discrete packages of military aid that we intended to give.
The US is doing something similar too, where they give them like little packages at a time because they know they want to give them a large number all at once, but it's easier for the people to accept, it's easier for the people not to get as bad if they're giving it still small doses at a time. But I think they're fucking up the economy doing that. All right, so this is gonna be a 2-part video about why I think we should be involved in Ukraine. I'm gonna make a second part of why I think we shouldn't be involved in Ukraine tomorrow. But hey, YouTube, check it out. If you have a disagreement, leave it in the comment section below. I want to see. I want to have a conversation. Do you think we should be involved? Do you think we shouldn't be involved? Let's just have this conversation. Hey, yo, you can fuck around and find out what's good with it. Remember, YouTube, if you like the content, like, share, subscribe. I'm trying to reach as many people as I can, trying to get monetized, trying to talk to people, trying to have these conversations, trying to see, yo, what's going on? If you have a disagreement, leave it down in the comment section below. We can have a conversation about it.
And we're out of here like a screaming herd of turtles.